give them what they want.
Correct.
So at some level, your manager, you would want your manager to be an advocate also.
Yes.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
manager
Yes.
has to be your advocate.
It
If
would be
they're-
ideal if your manager was your
Yes.
advocate.
Yes, at least one of them.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
got it, okay.
And back to your point as well, I think it's the tangibles and the intangibles, right? So if my manager is graded on profitability, and then, let's say, global expansion, and those are the two things. And then let's say I'm graded on a little bit more tactical, where global expansion means bring on 4 new customers. And let's say I didn't bring on 4 new customers, I only brought in two, I didn't hit my goal, but yet I was able to expand. So understanding those tangibles that your manager, your senior manager, your director, your VP, your president, whatever that hierarchy is, and what the company is. And then the intangibles, I think you were saying is, the intangibles is, what do you contribute? Are you part of are you bringing your company, your work group, together? Or are you, not contributing, right? So if you're one of those people that contribute to the overall success, not just, and we call this breadth of perspective, right? If you have a breadth of perspective outside your own narrow focus, then that's your self-worth, that's what you contribute. Be very vocal about what you contribute. But when you're vocal, there's an acronym that we use. It's called specific, measurable, reasonable, actionable, and time-bound, right? SMART, right? Okay. And whenever you can lay out your case smartly, then people have a tendency to listen, especially men, because it's fact, knowledge, and experience, right? So don't be shy. Be very professional. Now, if I heard, wait your turn, really what they're saying to me is that there's 4 or 5 people ahead of you that I'm going to push for promotion than you. Then your question should be, well, why? So please tell me, what do I need to do in order to get that position from your perspective? I know what the checklist is, right? I need my degree, I need this experience, I need this certificate. But from your perspective, what do I need to do to get there? And if they lay it out specifically, measurably, reasonable, and time-bound in action, they lay out your SMART objective, then you have the ability to go and execute those things that they say that you need to do. You also need to make sure that you're communicating with them regularly, right? Because what they may have said to you today, the goals may have changed, something may have changed within the organization, so the goals may be here. So you're beating on this drum when the drum's over here now, right? So regular communication is critical.
And I want to just say this because this is really important. What she said about SMART, practice it. If it doesn't come naturally to you, just think about any one line you will say to your manager and think if it's specific, if it's measurable, if it's actionable, if it's time bound, right? And that is the only way you will get to speak like that, because women usually don't speak like that.
No.
Right? Men do. That's one of the big problems that we have, that the language needs to change. So, yeah.
So using SMART, I've heard again, toot your own horn. I've heard that 2 or 3 times now. So I heard that was important. And also too, if you get, what I also just heard was if you get some pushback when you ask for a promotion, ask questions. Why? What's getting in the way? You know, make sure you ask those questions. We call that persistence. So if you hear a no sometimes means not right now. And for you, before you leave that meeting, you want to know when, and you want to know why. And so keep asking questions until you get to a place where you feel like you understand what's needed next. Because one of the things I hear often when people come to me and say, I'm not getting a promotion, and I say, well, do you have a conversation with your manager? And the person will say, well, yeah, I did. Well, what did you understand? I'll say, what did that person say? And they'll repeat back to me what the manager said. And then I'll say, what do you understand about what you need to do next? they'll say, I'm not sure. They were listening, but the understanding about, sometimes it's not clear what needs to happen next, because you can also get into the space of, well, I maybe don't like you. I like Jane or Joe or what have you. If that's the place you're in, wherever you are, it's more important to at least know where you stand coming out of that meeting. Know where you stand, because then you know what to do next. You can make a plan.
May I ask a question? When people tell me to toot my own horn, I'm Asian. I don't toot my own horn. I'm sorry. I just can't. I was raised in a household where you just don't do that. But how many of you work with people? How many of you work, have people that work below you? Okay. You know, the success of any manager is the manager that brings people up.
Absolutely.
Okay. So how you toot your own horn is bringing the people alongside you and building them up, and building the people below you and building them up. So you don't have to toot your own horn, but you can toot what's working really well, and you by default will get that recognition. Okay? You can toot your own horn, please, don't get me wrong. If you're that way, go ahead and toot, right? But I can't. It's hard for me to toot. But if you bring people up and you bring people alongside you up, the higher you raise people, really it's the higher that you go.
So when you speak smartly
Mhm.
and you lay out sort of what you're doing, to me that is tooting.
That's true, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. What I have done and what I'm going to do by when is reliable as well. And men love reliability, right? Yeah, 5 o'clock, I gotta watch that news.
Well, ladies, thank you. What we're going to do, so we're not done with the panel yet. What I'd like to do is open it up for questions. So we'll have about 5 or 6 minutes for questions from you all. But first, before we do that, I want to thank our panel. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Any questions for our panel?
People are used to
And
me as
please
the
tell us your
squeaky
name.
wheel.
Tell us your name first.
Keola Tweedy.
Okay, Keola.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
So, this is for everybody on the panel. Have you encountered situations where your ability to get ahead was challenged by others perceiving you as a threat?
Yes.
Yes.
Of course.
And I guess what'd you do about it?
For me, I'll go first. I don't know if you've noticed, but if I get nervous or if I get upset, I get very sarcastic. So, if somebody sees me as a threat, in the past, I would emotionally react, which then was always worse for me, right? Because that's not the way women should, that's not the way you're supposed to be in this man-dominated world. So, when I see that, then I back up and I build my plan on how I'm going to expose, if you will, that you feel challenged with what I'm doing. But I'll do it in a way where they feel embraced, that I am their team member, and we can get the goal done faster, better if we all work together, versus trying to go at it competitively. Now, if we have to go at it competitively, I absolutely can, look you in the eye and, well, typically I'm looking up, right? And I can go down with the best of them. So, but be well thought of, and be thought-provoking when you challenge somebody, right? Is that the question? Did I answer it?
I think you and I probably have opposite experiences, right? Because when I walk into a room, people see me. And I forget that people see me and people have a reaction to a tall, big, black woman. I mean, whatever their reaction is, there's going to be some reaction. And I had to learn that people are going to have that reaction no matter what I do. And sometimes I can fix that and sometimes I can't, right? And that's their issue and that's their problem. But one of the things I have learned is that I even though I am naturally an introvert, that if I want to, I'm gonna have to purposefully engage. have you see me as a human being, as opposed to whatever isms that you're walking around because you're raised American. And so if I need you, then I'm going to make sure that you understand me. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to laugh. We're going to solve a common problem together, something to humanize the situation.
And think about it, if somebody thinks that you're threatening them, or it's because they're insecure. So how do you bring them up?
And I just want to say that I was working as a chef at the airport. Every day I was getting great compliments from everybody. I was always friendly, always helping things that were not even I'm supposed to be doing, but I was just wanted to collaborate. I want everybody to feel, I was there to help. I was not there to take anybody's position. I was just to work. However, from day one, there were out of the 3 managers, there was one that was jealous. He was insecure. So he didn't like all these accomplishments. He tried to fire me from day one. However, all the chefs said no. The other 2 managers said no, she is great. On day one, she's able to handle all this stress. We're not getting rid of her. So the weeks went by, and then one day, he was by himself. He said, give me your badge, give me everything. And I give it to him. He said, you're fired. And I just say, I would like to know, if I did a mistake, perhaps, but I did absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, there were so many people that advocate for me with, with a big boss, that I got a call from the big boss saying, you are not fired. But I said, sometimes when they don't see you value, do you really I don't want to be working in a hostile environment when someone that is insecure. He was there for I don't know how many years. And I hear that every time that he felt someone was shining, he was doing the same. Mm-hmm. And so that's the question to yourself is the insecurity for others, if you are there to collaborate, not to be bragging, oh, I'm so great, because that's bragging, but you're there, to do your job, to collaborate with others, in a very friendly manner, and it's just not much you can do with the insecurity for others people,
No, you can't fix.
Can't fix that.
Stupid.
We try.
The lady in the back had another question.
Yes.
Please.
Yes, my name is Jen. Thanks all panelists. I have a question what's your strategy of dealing with conflicts with your whatever coworker or your manager, especially as a female?
I'm sorry, did not hear the question.
How do you manage conflict?
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I want to give you an example of how I manage conflict. That was years ago. So I was a manager at a Starbucks, and one of the employees was dating another employee, which is okay. However, the other employee was coming at hours that the other employee should be working, and they are not to be that allowed because he's taking her time when she should be focusing into doing, So I handle that in private because, as a manager, you want to do that in private, not in front of the other employees. So I told her how important she was to the company and that I was very happy, but she was going against, the company rules, of having conversation with another employee while she was on the clock. That was the reason why we had all had a break. And then I, that was how to, fix the problem. And then I just spoke to the manager of the other employee, so have a little conversation with him, But it is hard. That's why they say we're aggressive, It is hard sometimes at work because when you have like 2 females fighting, which is called, a cat fight. But you just gotta hear the 2 versions, like I hear at home, and then you come to a conclusion, because we kind of know people, who is lying and who is exaggerating, and I practice that a lot at home. Let me give you an example. There was a conflict, so a mother comes very upset at home, knocking on my door, and she's my neighbor. She said, you sent this to my son. And I bring my son. And so my son, yes, I did it. But he started first by saying this. And now the other one started And I said, explain, well, it is not nice when someone does something to you. That's why you have, teachers, principals, where you can go and tell the problem and fix the conflict. But the other boy apologized, my son apologized, they shake hands and now they're best friends. So I'm
So I
just,
think if you have an employee to employee,
yes,
right, if you're in the conflict right then and there, one of the things that usually comes from hurt, right? That's when people act out in anger or insecurity.
correct.
And so you're gonna have to put them, if you wanna have sort of this crucial conversation, you have to find a way to make them feel safe enough, to be vulnerable enough, to tell you what's really happening.
Right.
Because it's not until you find out what's really happening inside of them, which is a huge leap of trust, right? So it may take a couple of efforts to find out what really is at the core of why they're hurting. Will you be able to address it and figure out what the resolution? You can keep coming back with everything that why you're hurting me, so on and so forth, but until they feel heard, like you heard what I said, and so we all know paraphrasing, right? So what I heard you say to me was that I tripped you in the hallway,
Yes.
and I'm still mad about that from 3 years ago. You're like, I didn't even see you, okay? But until they hear that you heard them, I think that's the first thing. Yeah, that's the first thing you have to do, and make them feel safe enough so they'll have that conversation with you. But have all your facts, of course. People, men and women, love the facts. Have your facts, have why you think this is happening, but make sure they feel heard.
And then I would say if you're in any type of organization, sometimes you can have a mediator, that's
Yeah.
called HR.
Correct.
But have a mediator.
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes they can have the conversation, help you have the conversation that you're just not, ready to have. And HR is not personally involved in it, so.
In either one or the other.
Yeah. So they're just looking for a solution because that improves employee productivity. That's HR's job. Go use them if you have a good HR person.
But in conflict, usually when we have conflict, usually it's two people. And then it's important to hear both and like say, this is what I hear you're saying and I'm correct, take little notes, so, say it back and then come to a conclusion or just submit. Yes.
But what happens when that conflict is like your upper senior leadership? For me, I have a VP who can't stand me, and personally, I think he's super fun to deal with because I can go back at him. But he's pushed out two of our senior leaders, our program director and our operations director, and they both left because of him. Our entire company sees how he is. They all kind of make excuses. Most of our senior leadership are men. I'm the only woman. So everyone makes excuses for him. Oh, just manage upwards, bear with him. He doesn't mean that. I've heard so many things. And really, I'm on the verge of just making an ethics complaint, not even for myself, because like I said, it's super fun to poke at him. But he treats other people so horribly, and you can tell morale-wise, it's taking a toll on everyone. So
That's a hostile work environment.
Absolutely.
Do you have an HR group?
We do, but our HR director loves him. Yeah, our HR director is a male, by the way, and he loves him, and they're very close. And yeah,
There's a book called The Energy Bus. It's about that thick. It kind of teaches you how to deal with energy vampires.
okay, yeah, that's what he is.
Yeah, and maybe instead of, trust me, I have those in our company today, and I love to poke. That just gives you so much satisfaction, right? But maybe you can align, right? Everybody wants to get better, even the people that think they're great. They want to hear how great they are. You align with them, then you get closer to them, and then you help change them.
Right.
That's a longer path.
The only other thing I would think of is his peers. Probably somebody else is exhausted of it too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can ally with them and say, let's figure out a way to solve it. If you can't use HR and you can't use his boss because he's probably super productive, he's making money, that's why they're putting up it. Do we run across that occasionally? Occasionally. We'll let him run roughshod over everybody because he's writing the code that we need to get done. So I think you're gonna have to sort of ally yourself maybe with his peers. And it's gonna be a subtle, long thing. You're gonna have to decide how much you wanna take.
Well, I have really good relationships with his peers, but
Yeah.
I hesitate, you know, because I don't wanna ruin my relationship with them. And I
Yes.
don't ever wanna seem like I'm like crazy vindictive or anything, but I know they see it. They give me validation, like, oh, you know, he didn't mean that, you know, or whatever it is.
And ask for advice. Say, okay, this happened again. How do you deal with this? What can you tell me to do? And it sounds like you've been asking advice, but it really is trying to figure out, is this behavior gonna stop? Because it sounds like it's not.
Yeah.
And so you have to sort of make a decision.
Okay.
I don't,
I'm sorry.
please.
Or can you confront him?
I can and have like several times, and then he'll apologize and then come back and do it again. Just
But,
he likes being
okay,
picky.
so that kind of sounds like sometimes my husband, who really doesn't. Maybe he's unaware of the quirk that he has. So,
Absolutely,
okay.
he is. There's no self-awareness
So-
there at all.
So if he apologized, that means either one, it was insincere, or number two, he really, he doesn't wanna do it, he just can't. So we have this thing where if my husband says something that, I'll say, hey, let's do it again and tell it to me a different way. And then that way, it's not, hey, you just like said it really incorrectly and now I'm hurting his feelings.
Yeah.
It's that little buzzword that says, oh, let me try that again. So take him to lunch. Hey, you know, you said you apologized because this is how you made me feel. I don't know, HR, you can, if this is the right way to accomplish it, but this is how you made me feel. Oh, I apologize. Can we work out a little, you know, maybe a little communication thing that when you do that to me again, that I can notify you so then you're aware of it? Cause maybe it's just awareness.
How you make an approach with him? Like, I know, you know, like, hey, I don't know what his name is. Hey, you wanna go out with lunch with me, you know, during,
Well, we work
talking
remotely.
about
He lives in Virginia, so everything is
Zoom
via
call.
Skype, you know, so I don't get to like take him to lunch or anything fun.
But so
And
I will say this, right, Heather was smiling at me because I have asked her for advice for a very similar situation. My boss is actually currently like that, like
Okay.
feedback is, so I feel like two things, and you have to understand everyone goes through this, no matter who it is. And everyone seems like they are, but not everyone is good at it. Everyone is trying to figure it out too, like you are doing. But I think one thing that has helped me is to understand how much is in your control here, right? Yes, you can give all the feedback, but whether he takes that or not is not in your control. So you have to distance yourself from the effects of his behavior, right?
yeah,
So,
it's really hard for me because I see him bullying other people and I like to stick up for them, you know, so I'm like, no, don't talk to them like that, or, you know, so I think I'm internalizing his actions.
so if you decide to stay in this job, and if this person is a powerful person for that job, I will tell you what Patricia said, you will have to either make a decision, and then you can support the people who are being bullied in a very different way, because there might be very little which you can be able to change, right? Like,
Yeah.
Okay, Stella, thank you for that question. That was a great discussion. I learned a lot. But so with that, it's time for us to close our panel. And we're gonna do another fun activity. It's time for a mentoring exercise where we're gonna practice, we're gonna actually prepare for a negotiation. And so that's gonna be the next step here. But before we do that, let's thank our panel again.
Thank you for inviting us.
yes,
Really
yes,
appreciate
yes,
it.
yes.
Okay, thank you, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so you guys ready for the next step? Okay, so get into some groups. Make sure there's at least 3 people at each table. And then we've got Jacqueline is gonna be passing out some sheets. It has the mentoring exercise on it. And then if you're our panelists, you may stay and join a group, or you may leave or get some refreshments, you know what I mean? Okay? And then, I'll give you guys some instructions after you guys have you all have some paper. Okay.
If anybody needs,